Welcome to the Ripple of Change podcast, searching for our quadruple aim, where we highlight, celebrate, and extol others doing amazing things in healthcare and beyond. And today's episode is definitely beyond, but definitely connected to healthcare in an interesting way, and we'll get to that. I'm your host, Dr. Otten. Today's topic is connecting across continents through remote work. I'm joined by two amazing human beings who I've had the pleasure to get to know in the last 6 months or so that both work for Remote Pro Virtual Assistant, Subashi Silva and Nimra Savanghan, right?
Savanghan.
Did I get it right? Did I get it right? Oh, yes. We did it. We made it. And they have both been doing some work for me remotely, and it's been absolutely incredible. I'm so glad that we had an opportunity to connect because it's really made my life a lot easier in so many ways that I didn't even realize I needed help before. So as a reminder, our quadruple aim is patient experience, quality care, lower costs, but also provider wellness. And when I thought about this episode, I really thought about how those roles are morphed a little bit with remote work, right? So instead of patient experience, you've got the client experience who's getting quality product or help at a very fair cost. And I like to think that our relationship has provided some wellness to my colleagues here. So what a cool way to morph our quadruple aim into remote virtual work. So with that, I will stop talking and hand it over to Subashi.
Thank you so much, Todd. To start, I just really need to let you know that we feel very grateful and we are so happy about the opportunity that we got today. So I will start with the first question for Nimra. So Nimra, I know that you have been working in this remote concept over 9 years now. So you have been so experienced. And can you explain me what remote working is for you and how do you feel about it?
It's funny you asked me this because this is a question that has been asked like multiple times in the past 10 years. I guess people sort of got suspicious when I said I used to work remotely, and they would be like, what kind of work is that? Like, what do you do? And, at the first few years, like I couldn't even explain what it was because I just didn't know how to. Because the further I explained, everybody would get further confused. So finally, like I think after COVID, it sort of got easier to explain what I did. So the concept is basically doing the exact same thing that you do in an office, but at home. I mean, that's basically the easiest way to describe it. It's like the same thing that you would do in an office, right, from the comfort of your home. It could be any department, like finance or HR. You could be a journalist. It could be any field or industry. It's basically adapting all of that so that you could work independently from home. And so what makes it like efficient is that it gives you flexibility and it teaches you how to work independently. And that's something that I've grown to learn in the past couple of years. And I really value that because it's not something that you can learn when you are in an office because there's always someone who's going to help you out. But when you work remotely from home, you're alone. You have to depend on yourself to fix all the problems. So I really, really think it's a cool concept. And for me, it has worked really well in the past 10 years. Yeah. So I hope that answers your question. And but what about you though? Like, how does it work or how does it like fix around the sort of teams that you work with, especially when you have to deal with all the clients?
As you said, Nimra, for me, a remote working concept is kind of a game changer for my life. So I've also been working remotely for maybe around 6-7 years now. And there's a clear change that we have experienced before COVID and post-COVID. So with this COVID situation, actually the remote concept got a like kind of a jump off, and it began a kind of revolution in the industry and with the technology, with the tools, which made the remote work concept and the remote operations very easier. So it opened wide range of opportunities, services all over the world. People could connect, people could hire from other countries, and people could get more jobs, more paying jobs, and they could showcase their skills more than ever. with this COVID situation, with this, with the popularity of this remote concept. So it was been really game changer, and even as a company that I could come up with this concept because of this remote working concept, that it became very easier for everyone. So, and also, as you said, it kind of gave a flexibility and a balance between professional and family life. So we were going to work, we were visiting office, and we didn't have time for our families, our kids, and we were losing so much just going around, just working, and it just gave us some time to spend with our family while we are working, to manage both our work and professional life. So it's kind of something really beautiful that I experience, and I always prefer remote working concept. And behalf of a company, if we think, Nimra, even for companies, it given some opportunities to reduce their cost using remote concept, like some utilities for the extra cost that they were spending on utilities, office spaces, and also they could hire, as I said, global talent, and they could find skills from other countries without going under complicated processes. And also it had an impact on carbon footprint as well, as it decreased the commuting and the energy consumption of large office building, and commuting of the travels, and it was a great impact on our environment as well.
Yeah, for me it's like I really dislike traveling to work. I mean, I can't even think of the traffic that I have to go through. I mean, I've been doing this for 10 years from home, and there's no way I'm going back. There's no way I'm going back full time to an office. Like, I've turned down so many opportunities because I just can't. I just can't think of driving to an office and sitting there and just talking to people. I just can't do that anymore.
Well, this is fascinating, and I love what I'm hearing. Actually, and you hit on the carbon footprint component too. I was thinking like we're really reducing like emissions and all these other things too. But from a personal perspective, COVID really opened my eyes to how we could deliver care and healthcare remotely. And I'll freely admit I was somewhat resistant to it at the beginning, especially when I was told, "Hey, you got to figure out how to get 85-year-olds to get on a Zoom call," and I'm like, I'm not an IT guy. And I was like, forget that. I'll just talk to him on the phone. And honest to goodness, I was able to accomplish 95% of my normal routine just talking to individuals because I knew them well as a family physician. But the other part of it too, it's opened my eyes to what are the opportunities for information sharing. I never thought I'd be doing a podcast, let alone interviewing people from all over the world to talk about cool things and synergy and that human connection, and what can it lead to. Case in point right here. I can't help myself, but the work that these two ladies have done in helping me facilitate some things for the Ripple of Change book and movement and the website, I'm forever grateful. And so thanks to the both of you. And I wanted to say that. So I will stop talking and throw it back to Subashi for the next question.
Actually, I was thinking like it just as an employee, since that I've been working as I have experience working as a remote person. So it gave great opportunities for the mothers, to be honest. It's something that it became a major problem in Asian countries, that daycare facilities are not much popular, and it's not something that easy access in each cities in our countries. So it really gave a big opportunity for the mothers who are having kids, working remotely from home, having kid aside. Because I remember how I worked. I was keeping my son, he's just around 3 years old, when he's very small. I used to keep him on my back and I was working. But still, I was with him, and also I was working, likewise, it's kind of wonderful concept. I mean, it's something really, really wonderful. And also for disabled persons, if they want to showcase their skills, they just don't want to, hang in the house, and, they think of limited in a belief that saying oh no, I can't go into a workspace and just work. With this remote concept, they just freely they can express, and freely they can find proper jobs for their skills. I mean, it's really wonderful.
I'm so super pro remote working. Like, it's insane. I've had a lot of people, a lot of team members, a lot of colleagues sort of complain that they can't adapt to it. They found it really difficult, especially when they were new parents. They would have babies and they weren't willing to work remotely. They would always prefer to go to work. Even during COVID, I remember there were a lot of stories about how these new parents they couldn't keep up with it. They couldn't handle the background noise. But having gone through all that for 10 years, I mean, I remember having babies below the age of 2 and, working, taking meetings, having them on my lap, feeding them in between meetings. There are times when I have to switch the camera off because it was rude. I didn't want clients to see me struggling with these 2 babies. It was a bit awkward, but it happens and you learn to adapt. That's one thing I think as parents, working parents, that we learn to adapt. And I really, sort of appreciate that in a way, because remote work has taught me so much. I've learned so much on my own in the past 10 years. Like, even tech, I was never a tech person. I didn't know anything about laptops. I didn't know how to fix anything. But I learned everything on my own. Like, there's no way there's an IT guy working with you when you work remotely, right? Like, you have to problem solve everything on your own. So self-learning is key. That's like a key factor that goes along with it.
This is amazing. I love this. And I've got to tell a story here. Just like, when I first met Nimra and this whole process of expanding, the capacities, if you will, for the book and what have you. Subashi introduced me to Nimra and we were talking about working on my calendar and maybe doing this. And I was like, well, no. Tell me about you. I want to hear about you. And once I started hearing her story, I was like, well, that's not what we're going to work on. I think she's going to be able to take all the craziness that's in my head and actually distill it down into something logical to put on the website. Which you've been able to do, and it's been incredible to watch this process evolve. I'm so, it's as a physician, right? You're taught to think about a lot of things all at once, and when we're seeing patients, you work on your differential diagnoses. And in the role I'm in now, I want to create massive, not me, but I want to see massive change, not just in the United States, but across the world in the healthcare space. And so the problem with that is you've got a million ideas bouncing around in your brain, and frankly, it's wonderful to have a team to help you flesh that out. So, yeah, again, I derail these things all the time. I guess that's my role in these shows, is to just derail them into what I think is going to be fun to talk about.
It's okay because we're going to derail each other.
That's right. There you go.
So that's amazing. And like as Todd was saying, like when we were working on his projects, like we got to work with a front-end dev team that resides in India. So that's another team, a great team that I got to work with. We've exchanged a lot of ideas. We collaborate together. That's like, I love working with teams like that because you get to learn so much from them. And it's like a global collaboration, and it's amazing. It's the best way to go.
The cool part of that too is you have all these different people from different walks of life, different cultures, and you can learn different things. And you talk about being a lifelong learner, and part of it's these relationships, these human connections. I've not Sri Lanka, but I'm not a geographic wizard necessarily, or geography wizard. My son's way better than I am. But I've had some people, ask about certain countries or whatever, and I've had to get out the map or get out the globe and see where it is, and it's another form of learning, and it's realizing that there's that capacity for that growth, right? So it's just awesome.
I do have a question for you, Nimra. How do you keep efficiency of remote work?
For me, efficiency, it splits into 2. I think I spoke about this before, but using really good software and really good tools to track your tasks and the progress of your tasks. If you find the right tool, I guess you're good to go, because that tool is going to do everything for you. It's basically AI. Like in all the superhero movies, you see like there's Iron Man and his little AI guy. It's like that. It automates everything for you. I mean, you don't need the whiteboard anymore. I mean, there were times when we would write things on a whiteboard and you had to visualize everything. Oh, this is what I'm going to do on this day. But now it's super easy. Once you start getting into your software, it just does pretty much everything for you. It just tracks everything you do until you complete the project. So that's number 1 for me. And then number 2 would be communication. like you need to be super connected to your team, and you need to have daily stand-up. Especially if it's like a really big project that you're working on, you need to be in touch almost every day. So if there's like roadblocks in between, you need to find out where we've gone wrong, make sure that you stay within the timeline and complete your project. Because or else we're gonna, keep going over budget and all those problems, right? It's like I don't want that to happen. So those are the two key things that I can think of being efficient, because it has worked for me. It might be different for others though. There might be a lot of other key aspects that they might be needing to look at. Like for me, like my problem solving skills and the ability to learn, to work independently, that was sort of already there. So I didn't really have to work on it. But I think for others, I don't want to sound like rude by saying this, but Gen Z might need to sort of work on that, because when you work with younger teams, there's a huge gap. Sorry for saying this, but there's a huge gap. There's a huge gap between the millennials and like Gen Z. I mean, yeah, they love working from home. They love contributing remotely, but they just don't turn up for meetings sometimes. And then you're just left hanging, thinking, okay, what's happening? This is daily stand up, but where are you? That's just one example, the gap. And then there's like the generation before us. I don't want to say boomers, but like the generation before us, they're not very used to working remotely. So that the concept is really new to them. So they wouldn't adapt to it very easily, right? Like, but us, the ones in the middle, the millennials, we had to adapt really quickly.
Yeah, I think you might be referring to my generation. See all these gray hairs here. I was just going to show my notebook of hieroglyphics that I use for keeping notes. You two are probably like, "Oh, Todd, you could do so much better than that."
No, I used to do that as well. I still take down notes, but then I realized there's AI that can do that for you, so you don't have to do that anymore. So
that'll be our next project, Nimra, that you can show me how to use AI and be more efficient with that.
I mean, I really sorry.
No, go ahead. This is great.
So the thing about AI is that like the generation after us, the Gen Z and my kids, they want to adapt using AI, but it's also sort of something that we should not use so frequently, because it takes away creativity. It does, because you're going to rely on AI to do everything for you, and then you're not going to be as creative as you used to be. So I really try not to use AI unless it's just a task that can be simplified, like taking notes. I guess AI is fine, but I wouldn't really use it to create content or design. I wouldn't advise anyone to do that. That's just my personal view again. Don't cancel me, but yeah, that's just I'm so going to get canceled.
That's the beauty of all this, right? We all have different opinions and different ways to view things and what have you. I feel like this is a great opportunity for a Ripple Challenge question. And this episode, I believe, is going to be aired probably right around the time the Olympics are going to be coming out in Paris. And so I don't know if you're a fan of the Olympics or not, but let's do this. What is your favorite summer Olympic sport?
Okay, so we come from eternal summer, right?
Eternal summer. Yeah, most of the months of the year is just summer for us.
It's just summer.
Well, then this should be easy then, right? I should be right in the... What would be your favorite Olympic sport, would you say?
Wow, I feel sorry for the athletes because I'm not athletic at all. So swimming, I guess. Swimming's fun. I mean, I like swimming.
I was going to say the same, swimming.
I can't swim though. The funny thing.
I can imagine only when the word comes summer, just the water. So water and summer always connected. So yeah, it's obviously swimming.
That's fantastic. I like watching the Olympic swimming too. You can just see the passion and the determination and all the hard work. Although I got to admit, I do love track and field. That is probably my favorite. As a former track and field athlete, it really resonates with me. And then my son is, as I've mentioned before, doing very well in track and field. His mile time is about 4:09, so I'm super proud of him.
Wow.
Yeah, it's I actually want to ask Subashi a question. So I want to know how did you get started in all this? What was it like? What was the drive? What was your why?
Yeah. So basically why I started working as a remote person is because of my son, because I couldn't leave him and go for work. So that's the main purpose of, I was looking for remote opportunities. And then I got experience with working with like so many clients. And, I thought of like with the demand that I got, I wanted to kind of, come up with a team which can, provide various services for clients. And also my main concept behind the company, Todd, is helping mothers, as I told, because in my team, I do have like 4 single mothers, which been working wonderfully. And it's the main concept to, bring back the workforce, I mean, the mothers. So that's my main concept behind the company. So as how I worked, I wanted to help others as well. So that's the motive that I had. And with this, with this all these revolution and this popularity of remote concept, it made me, it gave me very easy access to connect with others. So that's how all this started, and that's how it's going through.
That is beautiful, and it just speaks to me on so many levels in terms of giving back to others and kindness and doing things for the right reasons, and not just driving everything for the sake of money. I say it occasionally that money's only a tool, right? It's not the be all end all. There's much more to life than that. Nimra, did you want to piggyback on that at all, or add to those comments? You don't have to. You could say no. I do not want to. I do not want to talk. I'm just kidding.
So what she's been doing is amazing. I really value what you've been doing. So it's amazing, and it does help moms like me to be able to work from home and save on the commute, be around our kids. Which is also the same reason why I started working. I just didn't want to leave my babies at home. I didn't have caregivers at the time. It was very difficult, and I know I did struggle a bit at first. I wish I knew then, because I was working for some other agencies at the time. But I really, really find it amazing what you do. And I've always told her, like, I'm there for you if you need anything, because I know what it's like, and I'm always willing to contribute and help others as well. Especially single moms. It's quite tough here because being a single mom here isn't the same as anywhere else. There's some sort of stigma going on here, so which needs to be sort of spoken about more frequently. So this I understand.
Yeah, well, that's unfortunate that there's a stigma associated with it, and so this is even another blessing to have these kind of opportunities to work and create income and all those other things that are important for life, really. And I'm excited, and I look forward to how healthcare can continue to evolve and adapt in the virtual world and even in the remote virtual world to improve things, because the legacy or historical ways of dealing with things in healthcare virtually are less than ideal. I'll leave it at that. I don't want to get into the negative. We'll leave that rabbit hole off to the side. So I'm always looking at the clock, because I got to be careful not to go too long in these things, because I feel like I would just talk forever. What I'd like to do is maybe offer both of you an opportunity to impart one additional thought about remote virtual work and what you think about it, anything. And then be sure to include plugs, websites, social media. How can people get a hold of you? What's the best way to do that? And then after you both have a chance to impart some final thoughts, I will give my final thought and in wrapping it up. Let's see, who's going to go first? Should we flip a coin?
So I think, Nimra, you start. That's okay. Yeah.
So parting thoughts for me would be, this is for everyone who's finding it difficult when you start to work remotely. It takes a lot of time, so just be patient, and adapting is key. So start with the little things. Get a lot of help if you really need it. There's so much of tools and softwares out there that you can learn to use. And if you really need any help at all, you can always message me. I'm on LinkedIn. I always help out people who need advice on how to work remotely, because I even did my dissertation on the same topic. So I have loads of data. If you want to read about it, you can always reach me via LinkedIn. So.
And Nimra, don't forget about your books. I mean, she's a great writer. Isn't it, Todd? Like,
Yeah, I was going to say, wait a minute. You should add,
exactly. What about
more.
the book?
Throw it out there. This is the opportunity, right?
I'm also a writer. I do it as a hobby. I write really weird stories, though. They're just mostly targeted at young adults. I'm like a 40-year-old woman writing stories for young adults. It's a bit weird, which is why I didn't want to put it out there. But yes, I do. I'm also currently working on a novel for kids. Hoping to release it during Halloween. It's like a horror themed thing. So I love horror. It's a fascination.
Well, and there's always a niche, right? I mean, we've got how many billions of people in the world that are, what's that cohort of individuals that would be interested in that kind of stuff, right? And this reminds me that at some point we got to talk about doing the children's version of our quadruple aim and get that going, because I think that would be a fun project to work on with the two of you as well. So, Subashi, please give us some departing. I don't know. I'm screwing that up. Please share some thoughts with us, if you would. How can people get a hold of you? What's the best way, etc.?
Yes, so I'm always active in LinkedIn. I'm Subashi Silva. You can find me on as Subashi Silva, and our website is Remote Pro Virtual Assistant. We are always open for professionals, doctors, entrepreneurs, startups, any kind of business. Whatever the way that we can support as remotely, we are open to support. And I'm always open to give consultation if there's anyone thinking of okay, I have an idea to hire a remote person. I don't know how. What will be the cost? Or we are always there to help you. I will let my website name again. It's Remote Pro Virtual Assistant Services. We do have personal assistant services, virtual assistant services, customer care services, social media, video editing, you name it, we have it. So yeah, anything.
So I got to remind everybody, here's the book, Ripple of Change. And by the time this comes out, the website should be done at ourquadrupleaim.com. So definitely check it out, because these two have been instrumental in getting that to the finish line. So I'm forever grateful in that regard. And as always, what positive ripple of change will you create today?
Grab your copy today. Ripple of Change is available in hard, soft, and ebook formats. More information at www.ourquadrupleaim.com. Thanks for listening, and let's turn ripples into waves of lasting change. Stay tuned to this podcast as we search for examples of our quadruple aim.